Thank you for stopping to watch this video. My name is Stevie. Today we're going to make this clown out of a pre-cut craft wood, a 3/4 inch dowel, and a 3/16 of an inch dowel. This is going to be a lot of fun. And before we get started, I want to let you know that you can get these pre-cut craft woods from the Amazon, and I'm going to put a link in my video description. So be sure to check that out so you can pick these up. I bought a bag of 10 of them for very cheap. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the head. So we need to shape this out of a piece of dowel. This head is about 2.5 inches tall. So I'm going to use this dowel here. This is 3/4 of an inch wide. And like I said, the head itself is 2.5 inches tall. So I'm going to measure out 2.5 inches first. I've already got it set up on my square. All right. So I'm not going to cut this dowel just yet, because if I do, it's going to look this short. And because I want to actually shape this on the sander, if I were to shape it when it's already cut, it's very possible I can get my fingers. So let's take this to the sander. We'll be able to work the piece of wood without sanding our fingers up. In the center of this dowel, we're going to make a marking as close to the center as we can, because we need to drill a hole in there. And the reason why is we are going to be fastening this head, or a head that looks just like this, directly onto the body. And I'm not going to just glue it right on top because it'll snap right off. To fasten it, I'm going to drill a 3/16 of an inch hole in the center of the body, and I'm going to drill a 3/16 of an inch hole in the bottom of the head. In this case, this will be the bottom of the head. From there, I'm going to take a small piece of 3/16 dowel, put it in each side, glue it together, and that will fasten this together nice and tight. I drilled a hole in the center of this 3/4 inch dowel, and I also drilled a hole in the center of the wood cutout that we're going to be using as the body. So now all I need to do is just take a piece of 3/16 of an inch dowel, and then I'll be able to attach the head on just the same. We're going to use a very small piece of this dowel as the fastener. We're going to take this dowel over to the sander, and we're going to try and shape a head that looks similar to this. Now the hole is here at the bottom, and the hole is here at the bottom of the neck. So for this dowel, we're going to try and shape it just like this, with the hole being on this side, because this is the bottom of the neck and it's going to attach to that body. So now let's take it over to the sander, and we're going to try and shape that. We've got our 2.5 inch dowel. I've made a pretty prevalent mark right there, so I know how tall the head is going to be. I'm going to do my best to shape it like that. Also, I've got my hole at the bottom, and what I want to make sure is when I am shaping it, I want to give myself enough space around the neck so that I don't actually go through. So you'll see on this one here, I do have a little bit of space on every side of the neck. So I'm going to try and duplicate that on this dowel. I'm just spinning it around to try and make it an even shape. Okay, so I think I've got a pretty good spacing around this hole. So now I'm going to try not to take any more off of this bottom part here, and I'm going to take a little bit more off of right around here. Then I'll cut it, and I will shape the top of the head. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take it to the bandsaw, cut it off here, and then I'm going to try and shape the top of the head so that it looks similar to this one here. All right, so it's not looking too bad so far. You see I've got a hole in the bottom. The bottom looks pretty much the same. Now I'm going to shape the top of this to make it look similar to that. I've got to be careful that I don't get my fingers. It's not too bad. It's pretty close. I'm going to actually shape it a little bit more. It's kind of squared right there. All right, that's not looking too bad. It's still pretty rough. I'm going to take it over to my other belt sander that's not as coarse of a grit there, and I'm going to try and shape it a little bit better. I'm just going to try and smooth this out a little bit, or a lot of bit, I should say. It's looking really good. So it's going to really make it feel nice and smooth. That is looking really good. This is what we have so far. And now let's move on to the next step. Now I need to determine where I want to put the nose. So I think I'm going to put the nose right around here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small hole. This dowel here is 3/16 of an inch, and this is what I'm going to actually use for the nose. So I'm going to find a drill bit that is 3/16 of an inch, or maybe even a tiny bit smaller. And if it's smaller, I'll just shape the bottom of this dowel here so that I can squeeze it into the hole. But this is where I want to put the nose. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put a little pilot hole in here, and I'm going to drill. I've drilled the hole in the face for the nose, and I'm going to take this 3/16 of an inch dowel and I'm going to shape it here at the bottom. I'm going to sand it down same way we did the bottom of the head, just slightly, so I can shove it in there, and then I'll cut off the piece of dowel, shape that as well, and that way we'll have the nose. So let's start that. So now I'm just going to take this dowel over to the bandsaw, cut off a small piece, shape it, and we'll glue it in. All right, I didn't want to do too much of the nose with that sander, because if my finger gets too close to that belt, it'll shave my fingernail right off. So let me just use this sandpaper here and just work it a little bit, and I'll get the rounded nose that I want. The next thing we want to do is add the arms and the legs. I'm using this 3/16 of an inch dowel for both the arms and the legs. And so the head's going to sit like this. This piece right here, this little lump piece, I was kind of seeing that as like the collar. You know, clowns have big collars sometimes. So I was going to use that as the collar, which means I'm going to start the arm right about here. And I'm going to start the leg right out here. So let me, you know what, that length of leg looks pretty good. I'm going to mark that right now. And the arm, I'm going to do just a little bit shorter. Okay, so this is the length of the leg that I'm going to use. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make the leg have a knee. So I'm going to cut the knee like almost right in the middle of that. So I'll cut two pieces of leg the same length, and then I'll cut them both in half to have, you know, the thigh and then the shin area. And then I'll do the same thing for the arms. I'm going to make the arms a little bit shorter. But again, we are going to have a knee, and for the arms, we're going to have elbow. Okay, so let's start. Since I'm at the bandsaw already, I'm going to cut a small piece of this dowel out to use as the fastener. So there we go. And when it's time, we'll glue that together. I've got the legs and the arms cut to pieces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of these pieces of legs and arms. I'm going to take it to the sander and just smooth out those rough edges and kind of round the ends off of this here. I've rounded off the ends of each one of these dowels. Now we're gonna put a hole in the end of these here so that we can create the hinges on the legs and the arms. All right, so I've got the legs and the arms all sanded down and ready to go. What I'm gonna do now is create pilot holes. These are gonna be the legs, this is gonna be the bottom of the legs, this will be the top of the legs. So the hip will be here, the knees, and then the feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pilot hole in the center of each one of these dowels. And I do that by taking either a drill bit with a sharp point, a screw, a thumbtack, push pin, whatever you want. And I'm just going to get into the center of this dowel best I can and just create a small hole. All right, so I'm just finishing up the pilot holes that I create inside of these arms and legs. This is going to allow us to put these little jewelry eyelets inside of the holes, and that's going to allow us to make joints so the knees and arms can bend. When you do yours, you want to make sure you put it as close to the center of the dowel as you possibly can. All right, I've got all of the pilot holes created. Now I'm going to take it over to the drill press and drill these holes. All right, so in my drill press, I have the thinnest drill bit I have. I believe it's just shy of 1/16 of an inch. When I drill the hole, I'm going to hold my finger as close to the bottom as possible because when I push up, I don't want this drill bit to come out of the side of this little dowel and rip up my fingers. I've got a piece of green tape here that tells me when to stop. So let's start. All right, so on the body, I need to make the markings for the arms and the legs so that I can drill those holes out. So I'm going to start with the legs. I'm going to put it at the sides of the body because that's where the hips would be. First, I'm going to eyeball it and see how it looks. Looks about right. And then from the legs, I'm going to go straight up and I'm going to put the arms directly under this section here, which is going to be the collar of the clown. I'll do the same on this side. And same thing, I like to look at this, make sure it looks even. And it does. Create the pilot holes on these as well. We're going to be creating the joints for the arms and the legs, and I use these jewelry eyelets. These are made for making jewelry, but I like to use them as hinges. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take two of them, essentially. Grab the second one. They're going to connect right here, and they're going to act as joints. So right here we have the jewelry eyelets, and all I like to do with these is cut a small piece off. And then I need to bend over the end of that. I'm hoping the camera's picking this up. Crimp this down so we're left with something that looks like this. And what we do is we're going to be able to stick this right inside of these holes here. Here's the eyelet opening, so I like to take it from the bottom. I'm going to dip it in the glue and stick it in there. First, I'm going to create a bunch of these little eyelets, and then I'll glue them in. All right, have a little bit of glue there. Grab my needle nose and just start plugging away. So I grab the eyelet with the needle nose, dip it into the glue, and I push it in here gently. If I go too fast, it's going to bend. I like to put it in nice and slow. All right, there we go. So when I put these in, I put them in this direction, right? So if you were to put it in this direction, the problem is that the leg wouldn't be able to swing this direction. It would have to swing that direction. So make sure that you put them all in this direction. Let me move on to the next one here. Dip it in some glue and just put it in. Okay. All right, so that's what the body looks like. All four joints, the shoulders and the hips. Now I'm going to actually work on the arms and the legs. So let me set that one aside. I'm going to start with the arms, but I'm going to start with where the hand would be. So this is the dowel that does not have a hole on each side. It has it just on one side. And I start with this because I want to show you something. So first I push this in, and notice I have the eyelet opening right here on the bottom. I want to make note of that because I need to open that up just a little bit. If I don't open it now and it's glued in there, I'm going to have a very hard time deciphering what side the opening is on. So I like to open at least one side, and then I'll move on to the top of the arm. Same thing, I'm going to open this up. There's one side. And let me get the other piece. With the arms and the legs, you want to do the same thing as far as having the eyelets in the same direction. So both of them are going to be this direction. They're going to look like that, okay? And once we get everything done, we're going to be able to hook these in and then attach them, and then that's what the arm is going to look like. I'm going to take it apart for now, but I'm going to keep these in order, and let me just keep moving on here. Okay. Okay, we've got all of this ready. So the shoulders, the hips, all of the arm and leg joints are ready to go. Now let's put it together. So I'm going to start with the legs, I think. So first I'm going to put in this part here where I opened up the hook. And from here I'm going to actually take a needle nose and I'm going to close up that gap. Okay. All right, then I'm going to grab the bottom of the leg, slip it in, close up the gap. So there's one leg. And then you just do the same thing for the rest. Close up that gap. Close up the gap. So you can kind of see what we've got so far. Not looking too bad. Now let me get the arms. All right, this is what we have so far. It's looking good. When we put the head in, it's going to look even better. And it is a clown, so that's why the head is so big. And I might actually opt to put some boots on here too. Some clown boots or some clown shoes. But let's move on to the next step. I decided I want to put some shoes on this clown, so I'm going to try and draw out some shoes real quickly. So my dowel is going to be this thick. So let me see here. I'm just going to freehand this here. I think that'll be all right. So if I just cut out a couple of those on the bandsaw, sand them down, I think it'll be pretty cool. There's one. I'm just going to trace out the other one here. Okay, I've got two shoes here. I'm gonna sand them down. First I'll drill some holes in there that the 3/16 dowel will fit into. And then I'm gonna sand them down and try and shape them better into some shoes there, okay? That's where I'm gonna drill the holes, and then I'm gonna shape these shoes a little bit better. This is what I have on the shoe so far. I've got the 3/16 of an inch hole on each one of these. And so now I'm just gonna take it to this sander and see if I can shape it a little bit better. All right, those look pretty good. I'm gonna take those to a piece of sandpaper and smooth them out even more. I think what I'm going to do next is glue it all together. Right now the shoes are not glued on, they're just kind of stuck on there dangling. Normally what I would try to do is paint it first and then glue on the pieces. But I think in this case I do want to glue on the shoes, and I want to glue on the head, and then from there we'll design the face, we'll paint the body and the shoes and so forth. But it is looking pretty good. One thing I need to be sure of though is when I do glue it, I want to make sure these shoes are pointing the correct direction. Right now they're just kind of dangling. They're not necessarily pointing the right direction. So that is one thing I need to be careful of. But it's looking really good so far, don't you think? Okay, I glued the head on, and now it's time for the shoes, which might be a little difficult because I need to determine where these legs are going to hang. So the way I'm going to do it is, well, the camera's not going to see, but I'm going to let it dangle in front of me, and then I'm going to make a note of where that front actually is. Once I determine the front, I'm just going to make a little pencil mark so I can see if that actually is truly where it hangs. And I think is right about there. So now I'm just going to check it one more time. Those pencil marks are right in front. So now I'm going to take my shoes and glue those on. And where that pencil mark is where the front is going to be. So this is what I've got. They kind of hang right in the front. Anyway, I think it's going to be good enough. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to draw out the face, and then we're going to paint the body. Let me draw the face. I'm going to freehand it. All right. So that's what I'm going to do here. This is going to be the white face. That looked like that. I don't know if I should do a happy face or a sad face. Let's make it a happy face. Something like that. I was going through some of my old crafts and I found this old orange pipe cleaner. So I think I might add that just as some hair. It'll kind of go around like that. All right, let's see how we do with this painting here. Okay, this is what we have so far, and the next thing I'm going to paint is around the head, so the skin color. So I'll paint around the head, and I'm going to also paint at the very end of the arms so it'll look like hands. After I do that, then I'm going to put the face in. I'll paint the shoes red and also paint the tip of the nose red. And then after that, I'll put some polka dots on here. After that, the hair, and then we're done. All right, it's time to draw the face on this guy. We've got pretty much most of it is painted. The only thing we have left really are the feet, or the shoes, I should say, and then the face and the polka dots. So I'm going to put some polka dots on here also. So I'm just going to try and do like a standard clown face. Something like that. And then the mouth, I'm going to make it a smiley face. But clowns have big mouths. And then that little smile, I'm not sure if that's going to be white or black. What I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try and put some dots on this thing. I think I'm going to try 3 different colors. I want to try yellow, like an off-white color as well. And I'm thinking maybe this purple. I'm going to apply that with a dowel. This is a 1/4 inch dowel. And I'm just going to dip it into the paint and see how it goes. It's not bad. And what I'll do is I'll get a paintbrush and I'll kind of clean that up. We are so close to the finish line. Look what we've got so far. This has taken quite a while for the paint, and it's because we have so many different colors. We've got the blue, the red, the off-white, the yellow, the purple, the skin color. It took a lot of time just for the paint, but we are now at the very final stages. 2 things left to do. The first thing is I'm going to gloss everything on here, and then the next thing I'm going to do is put the hair around there. So let me start the glossing, and then we'll finish it up. Okay, it's taken some time with all the paint and the gloss, but we finally have this guy ready. It's all painted, it's all glossed. Now, the very last step, I'm going to take this orange pipe cleaner and I'm going to add some hair to it. So let's do that, and then we'll be done with this one. I think if I take it right about there, because I'm going to cut this, and I'm also going to fold over the wire so that the little hairs don't fall off. I'm just going to fold it over 2 times. Okay. Okay, we're done. This is our clown. It wasn't a very hard project. It just was timely because of all the different color paints. Blue, yellow, off-white, red, purple. We had a lot of different colors on here, and I had to take a lot of time to let it dry before I would start the next color. But it turned out really nice. I do like the addition of the orange hair. And while I was making this one, off camera, I was making another one. So I've got an orange one too. So this is what it looks like without hair, and this is what it looks like with hair. One thing that you might want to consider for yours is maybe instead of hair, maybe you want to try a hat possibly. You might want to put a little hat on there or the hair. Either way, they turn out really nice. I really want to thank you for taking your time to watch this video. I had a lot of fun making this craft. If you decide to do this craft, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun too. If you like what you saw today, please subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. Also, put a comment in the comments field. Let me know what you thought about this project. Let me know if there's something that you want to see me create next time. And if it's possible to do, I'll do it. Keep on watching these videos. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much again for watching this video.